It was the audition that defined a decade, a moment where a shy teenager's voice literally shook the rafters of the musical world. Yet by the start of 2026, the question on everyone's lips wasn't about his talent, it was about his disappearance. For years, the industry has been haunted by the silence of Jonathan Antoine. We remember the 2012 explosion, the standing ovations, and the multi-album deals. But then the trail went cold. In the fast-paced world of digital media, a year of silence is a lifetime. A decade is a career ender. But as we move further into 2026, a series of breaking developments has turned this missing person case of the music industry into the most shocking comeback story of the year. From whispers of a permanent vocal collapse to rumors that he had walked away from the limelight due to the crushing weight of public expectation, the narrative was grim. However, the truth that has surfaced is far more complex than a simple hiatus. It involves a total identity overhaul, a medical revelation that reframes his entire childhood, and a vocal transformation that is currently sending shockwaves through the classical community. We aren't just looking at a singer returning to the stage. We are looking at a man who has finally escaped the prodigy, he was locked in as a teenager. While the world was busy searching for the next viral sensation, the most powerful voice in Britain had seemingly vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but a trail of speculative headlines and concerned fan theories. To understand where Jonathan Antoine is in 2026, we have to look at the dark period that preceded this year. For a long time, the public narrative suggested that Jonathan had reached a breaking point. The transition from a shy, bullied schoolboy to a global phenomenon overnight is a trajectory that has destroyed many before him. In investigative circles, there were constant reports that the pressure had led to a complete withdrawal. We saw a young man who was once the face of modern opera suddenly become a ghost in his own industry. Industry insiders whispered about a vocal crisis, suggesting that the rigorous demands of his early career had caused irreversible damage. But as our investigation into his 2026 activities reveals, the silence wasn't a sign of defeat, it was a strategic retreat. He wasn't hiding because he couldn't sing. He was hiding because he was fighting a private battle with his own mental health and the way the industry had packaged him. During these quiet years, he was reportedly dismantling the opera boy persona that he felt was more of a costume than a career. Sources close to his production team in London now confirm that this period was used for a radical retuning of his life. He was dealing with deep-seated issues stemming from his school days, where he famously struggled with severe bullying and the fallout of sudden fame. By avoiding the spotlight, he was essentially saving his own life, ensuring he didn't become another one-hit wonder tragedy that the tabloids loved to feast on. It wasn't a scandal or a career-ending injury that kept him away. It was a single word that finally gave Jonathan the key to his own mind, changing how he views every note he sings. The biggest headline of 2026 didn't come from a concert review, but from a deeply personal statement regarding Jonathan's neurological health. The revelation of his autism diagnosis has provided a new lens through which we must view his entire career. For years, the public saw a shy performer who struggled with eye contact and seemed overwhelmed by the roar of the crowd. Now, we understand that these weren't just personality traits, they were the manifestations of a mind that processes the world differently. This diagnosis has been the catalyst for his 2026 resurgence. Jonathan has been vocal about how this understanding has allowed him to shed the mask he wore for over a decade. In the world of high-stakes performance, being different is often viewed as a liability, but for Antoine, it has become his greatest strength. He has described his autism as a superpower for his music, allowing him to focus on the technical and emotional nuances of a song with a level of intensity that others simply can't match. This isn't just a feel-good story, it's a radical shift in how we perceive talent. By coming forward with this, he has positioned himself as a leader for a new generation of neurodivergent artists. The 2026 version of Jonathan Antoine isn't apologizing for his eccentricities or his social awkwardness. Instead, he is leaning into them, using his platform to explain that his voice sounds the way it does because of how his brain is wired, not in spite of it. This transparency has created a deeper bond with his global audience, turning his comeback into a movement of authenticity. The purists are screaming betrayal, but the charts are screaming success, as Jonathan Antoine makes the most controversial musical pivot of the decade. If you expected Jonathan to return with a standard set of Italian arias, you haven't been paying attention to the 2026 charts. The release of All of Me in January was a calculated shot across the bow of the classical music establishment. By taking a modern pop standard and applying his massive, operatic engine to it, he has entered a territory that many classical elitists find dangerous. Our reports show that this shift was entirely intentional. Jonathan is no longer interested in being the tenor in a tuxedo. The 2026 sound is cinematic, contemporary, and arguably much more accessible to the masses. Recorded between the high-tech studios of Los Angeles and the historic Angel Studios in London, his upcoming album Speaking to You is being described by critics as classical crossover on steroids. But this reinvention has sparked a heated debate. Has he sold out? Some vocal coaches have analyzed his recent performances, noting that his technique has shifted. He's using more of a chest voice and exploring a lower register that we haven't heard since his teens. While some claim this is to protect his voice from the burnout of high opera, others believe it's a sign of a singer who has finally found his true range. This isn't just about changing genres, it's about a man asserting his right to evolve. He is moving away from the Mina Pavarotti expectations and toward a style that reflects his own diverse musical tastes, which range from heavy metal to classic rock. This 2026 vocal era is characterized by a raw quality that was missing in his early, highly polished recordings. As we look toward the March 27th release of his most ambitious project to date, the industry is bracing for a total shift in the power dynamics of classical music. What does the future hold for Jonathan Antoine? If the early data from 2026 is any indication, we are looking at a total takeover. The upcoming album, Speaking to You, is already tracking to be his most successful release since his debut. But beyond the sales numbers, the real story is his autonomy. For the first time, Jonathan is the one in the driver's seat. He is no longer the product of a talent show machine. He is an independent artist who has built his own team and his own narrative. Rumors are already swirling about a massive 2026 world tour that will focus not on concert halls, but on unique, immersive venues that cater to his new, more contemporary sound. There is also speculation about a documentary that will detail his quiet years, providing a raw look at his journey through the autism diagnosis and his vocal reconstruction. What's clear is that Jonathan is no longer afraid of the spotlight. He's just decided to shine it on his own terms. He has survived the curse of the child star and emerged as a formidable adult artist. Whether he stays in the crossover lane or eventually returns to the grand stages of the Met or Covent Garden, the 2026 version of Jonathan Antoine is a man who has reclaimed his voice, both literally and figuratively. He is proof that you can disappear, you can struggle, and you can be different. But if the talent is real, the world will always wait for you to come back.